Hello everybody, I'm Stewart A. Swerdlow for Expansions.com, and this is the second week in April 2012 on a very cold day in Michigan where it might even snow. So much for the global warming thing in April. I do have a few stories for you that are of interest. One of them is a very mysterious story that is an idea from a U.S. entrepreneur who has a mysterious background that says that wealthy people and corporations should be able to buy real estate on the moon and on other planets privately, and that governments should have no say or authority over those areas. So the question then becomes, if we discover new Earths out there, like they're telling us every week, there's hundreds of millions of Earth-like planets out there, and that by 2014 we should actually have an Earth-like planet in some solar system that we will have discovered, which of course they're preparing you for alien communications. But then we have to decide when these planets are discovered, or even our moon, who owns that? Does anyone have a right to buy any piece? And even if you do buy it, who is the seller? Who owns the moon? I don't think anybody should own the moon. So that's a very interesting topic, that private corporations and wealthy individuals should buy pieces of real estate on other worlds. Could this be a precursor to colonization and the use of slave labor as human slave labor on other planets, like I have been describing to you in the last decade or two, where the Illuminati will use the Earth as a galactic empire center and then fan out into the known universe, occupying planets and asteroids and what else there is out there in order to create this gigantic new empire with a slave race. This could be a story that will begin that process. Along the same lines as mystery, North Korea is next week sending up a missile over parts of South Korea and Japan into the Pacific Ocean for what they say are peaceful experimentations. Apparently they have their own space program, and this missile is a part of that program. Of course, South Korea and some other Asian countries believe it is a cover-up for a intercontinental ballistic missile system, maybe one that is even capable of reaching parts of the United States and Canada, and certainly Hawaii, and other parts of Asia. So of course many of the countries in Eastern Asia are very upset about this, and airlines have already begun plans to divert their aircraft away from the flight path of this missile, just in case it comes too close. South Korea and Japan have already stated that should any part of that missile fly over their territory and be considered a threat, they will shoot it down. And of course that would be considered an act of war by North Korea, and we already know they have fired upon South Korea in the past. So next week, the third week in April, really needs to be watched closely. In addition, the North Koreans are now preparing for another subterranean nuclear bomb test. Now, they're really up to something out there. So we need to keep our eyes on North Korea. Could this be a clever diversion from events going on in the Persian Gulf and parts of the Middle East? It could very well be. So even though these events are happening in Northeast Asia, keep your eye on the rest of the world as well. Now, from the Vatican, there is a movie coming out about exorcism, and there is a Spanish priest who is actually sanctioned by the Vatican and the Pope to go around the world exorcising demons from people who claim to be possessed. Most of these are in Latin American countries or Mediterranean countries, but he is going all over the world, and they actually have made a movie about it for the public. This again is a precursor to the New World religion, which will incorporate the use of demonic entities, rituals, possessions as vessels in programming. Everything that I've told you about will be documented in this film and be part of New World religion ritual and practices. Back to space information. NASA released a photograph from the surface of Mars that said it looked like the shape of an elephant with a trunk and a head and a body and an eye. And of course, just like they said about the face on Mars, they said it was a natural formation, only this one, the elephant head, was formed by a lava flow. Now, you look at that picture of this elephant shape on the face of Mars, and you tell me if a lava flow would do that. I mean, Mars must be pretty interesting with all these natural formations out there. So, how come the Earth doesn't have formations like that look like animals and people and pyramids and that kind of thing? Very interesting. And in addition, for the second time, they have released photograph images from an orbiting spacecraft on Mars that shows a dust devil that is 12 miles high. In other words, a spinning sandstorm or dust from the surface of Mars, like a little tornado. And that's the second time this year they have sent information on the internet about it. Basically, it's saying that Mars is a living, active planet with weather systems. If there is wind and there's weather, then there's plant life and maybe animal life. And as we know, that when you have a telescope trained on the northern hemisphere of Mars in the Martian springtime, you can see green plants growing between the equator and the North Pole of Mars. So there is definitely growth and life on Mars, and the atmosphere perhaps is not what they're telling us that it is. And again in space, going further out into deep space, I've told you so much about the Kuiper Belt and a little bit about the Oort Belt, which is past the Kuiper Belt. Well, Spanish astronomers have now said that they have discovered a brown dwarf star orbiting in an elliptical path in the Oort Belt, and one of the outside orbits or elliptical perigees of this dwarf star actually comes very close to the planet, or whatever it is called, Pluto. We don't know if it's a planet or a planetoid or an object in the Kuiper Belt. Depends on what scientist you want to ask for a cover story. But anyway, there is this dwarf brown star out there in the Oort Belt, many miles and distances away from the Earth. Supposedly, according to these Spanish scientists, it is an offshoot or a remnant of when our star was born, and part of it exploded out into space, and then the rest of it condensed into this brown dwarf star, and that there may even be planets around it. But that means we are actually in a binary star system with a double planetary system. So it's like a double solar system in which we exist. And according to NASA, just a year or two ago, said that most stars in the Milky Way galaxy are either binary or even trinary, and that single stars are actually a rarity. So that's an interesting bit of information. And to confirm what I told you months ago, I told you April would see the end of the EU, and that the Germans would start their own currency and their own. We have see that my northern dogs are responding to this because they are absolutely enthralled by what's going on in the EU. Isn't that so, Natasha? Anyway, Natasha and Buddy are fighting. See, he's Norwegian and she's Russian, and it just doesn't go together. Anyway, the thing is that as of today, information on the internet states that the Mediterranean countries plus Ireland, the countries which are having financial difficulties, are in the process of pulling out their euro deposits from the Eurozone banks, and that will absolutely cause the process to break up the European Union and make the northern countries have to reevaluate and reassess into their own unification. So something to consider. Natasha, come and say hello to everybody, Natasha. You have to behave yourself. I told you need to be quiet, remember? Do you remember that, Natasha? Okay, now sit down and behave. Now, our April seminar, April 20th to the 22nd, Death, Disease, Detox, and Determination. We will teach you all about every one of those and how to create a life that is amazingly perfect for you. So please sign up at expansions.com for that amazing weekend. Also in June, I will be in South Africa. I have 2 lectures at the Celebrate Life Festival in Cape Town. And the weekend after that, I will be doing a seminar in the Cape Town area. So again, come to my site expansions.com for information. We are also planning in October of 2012 a Russian River cruise, which will combine bear frequency with the land of the rose. You know, Rus, Russia, means rose, and I will explain all of that to you and how to access the bear frequency within you and bring it out in the rose blossoming, manifesting in the earth plane. This weekend, April 15th, I will have my radio show Infinite Realities, where we'll be talking with Rupert, the male monarch that you have met on our site, and his postings and our answers to him. It'll be a fascinating conversation, so hope to see you there. So until next time, this is Stewart A. Swerdlow for expansions.com.